Hello. Alright, I just seen the movie Thor for the first time, and my thoughts. Well, well, I'm gonna start off by saying I'm not a fan of the comics, not because I don't like them, but I've never actually read the comics, so I'm going strictly by the movie. And I'm also gonna compare it to other Marvel movies, because this is taking place in the same universe as Incredible Hulk and Iron Man. So Thor overall was okay. I mean, like, it didn't really live up to my expectations. So, because there were a lot of, I had some problems with this movie, and I'm gonna get into it later. But, um, Thor, the basic premise of this movie is it follows the God of Thunder, and he's portrayed in this movie by George Kirk from Star Trek. And here in this movie, he's portrayed as like this arrogant, like this is the origins of Thor. He's portrayed as arrogant and brash, but he's about to be the king. So he does something stupid, and he gets sent to Earth as exile. Like he loses his godly powers from his father, Odin. And right off the bat, I mean, like, you notice a problem in this movie. Like, the one of the biggest problems in this movie is actually it's kind of predictable. I mean, the very intro scene where it showed young Thor and young Loki, you already knew that, like, you know, Loki is portrayed as like Thor's counterpart, and Thor as a child was all brash and Loki was all quiet. You already know that Loki was gonna turn into a bad guy. Like right there. You didn't even have to say. He didn't have to say anything. You already knew he was gonna be a bad guy. And the and what I mean by like predictable, I mean throughout the whole movie, you can kind of like pick out points where you kind of expect that something to happen here and something to happen there. Like when you see Thor, there's a scene where he's running through the shield facility trying to get his hammer back. You kind of you already know that he's not gonna get the hammer, and you already know like um when Thor's back in, what was it, Asgard, like you kind of expected him to make this ultimate sacrifice. Like he can't just, because the movie follows him in this arc where he turns from a brash guy to a humble guy. You know that he's gonna make like this huge sacrifice in the end, and he actually makes two in this movie, and you could kind of see them coming to like um the first sacrifice gave him back his powers, and the second sacrifice saves Earth. You, I mean, I'm not saying that the movie's too predictable. It's just it's one of the bigger problems in this movie. And another problem to this movie is like the the subplot with Natalie Portman and the scientists. Like, I'm not talking about the Shield scientists because that subplot was okay, but I'm talking about Natalie Portman, the annoying as frick college student girl, and that one old dude. Like, that storyline had, in my opinion, they you can't take the story out, but you could have written it a bit better. I mean, like, they kind of, their story was just, the college student girl was just there for comedy purposes. Like, all she did was like spout out references to pop culture, like, oh, this is going on Facebook. Oh, they took all my songs, my iPod, and crap like that. For people like me to relate to. And she just came off as really annoying. Like, if you took her out of the movie, it would have been, you wouldn't even notice. And the other two characters, Natalie Portman and the old scientist guy, I don't really remember the actor's name, but the older actor guy, I mean, actually both of these characters were kind of underplayed. Like, you didn't really get to see them. Like, I know that Natalie Portman's character is like, she's supposed to be the love interest, but the problem with this movie is, since her character is not really, they don't really flesh her out, you kind of don't believe the love interest part. Like, you believe that she's the scientist part, but you kind of don't believe this love story that happens between Thor and Natalie Portman. And the reason for that is, I'm going to bring up Spider-Man. in Spider-Man, they actually managed to set the groundwork for the love story. Like Peter Parker has history already with Mary Jane, and you see both characters like interact with each other and fall in love. Like in this movie, you don't really have any groundwork for these two to work on. Like all they have is Natalie Portman found Thor in a ditch, and she thinks he's cute, and he thinks she's weird, and then yeah, it doesn't. It just seems like a sporadic romance. Like it's not like too out of nowhere, but you kind of don't believe it how it goes, and it doesn't help that like Natalie Portman's acting is a little yeah in this movie. Like it's kind of like imagine if you've seen the Star Wars prequels, imagine that acting in this movie. Like yeah, it's not it's really her acting was okay. I mean, it's a down step from Black Swan. So, is there anything else to talk about in this movie? Not that much. I mean, like, I think I kind of went over it. Like, the plot is, you know, it's basically the hero has to get his powers back, but he has to learn a valuable lesson before he gets his powers back. So, yes. So, at that point, I was a little scared that it was going to go down the Fantastic Four route, where when he loses his powers, he has to go through daily human life to relearn how to, I mean, to learn how to be good, but thankfully it was sort of downplayed. Like, they only showed, like a few scenes of him eating a Pop-Tart and them eating an omelet, but, yeah. But, overall, I know I kind of just, like, went from point to point, but, yeah. Is there anything else? No, there's not that much else to talk about with Thor. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie, but it's not like amazingly good. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done better. Like they could have fleshed out Thor's four-man gang better. Like when I mean four-man gang, like there's the Thor has like 4 people following him. There's the obligatory female fighter. There's an Asian guy. And a guy who looks like Ewan McGregor when he was in Star Wars. And there was a guy who looks like Gimli. Like, I don't really remember them by name. You could the movie could have made their story like a little bit longer, like, because they kind of seem like they're like flat characters who had like one personality. And they could also have fleshed out like Thor and Shield, like Thor and Shield's like relationship. Like all they did really establish was there's a scene where Thor and Shield like meet up, and he's like, I'm on your side, but I'm only on your side if you give back Natalie Portman's equipment. Like that was it. Like they didn't really ask any other questions after that, but yeah. And they could have also written Natalie Portman's subplot a little bit better. Like, I know I criticized her acting, but some of the stuff she couldn't really make good. Like, even if she acted better, because her storyline, her subplot is like filled with mainly comedic lines or just like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. You have to watch this movie to kind of understand what I'm saying. Like, the subplot could have been written better. Like, they could have given it a more serious tone. And they could have also fleshed out Loki's storyline, because he sort of just came off as like a guy who wants to please his father. Like, they could have made his, like, fleshed him out, because he's really a complex villain with a, like, his origin is that he's not actually Odin's son. He's a part of the Frost Giants, and they could have actually done a lot with this. The writing is what really kills this movie. Like, action-wise, it's not bad, but story-wise is where Thor suffers. But overall, I'd suggest, you know, watch it if you like explosions, but don't really expect too much from this movie, and you'll like it.